Market plunge. Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Donald Trump has now imposed his tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, and U.S. investors on Wall Street are reacting with disgust. The sell off began minutes after the opening bell. Here's how it played on Fox News.
All imports from Mexico, Canada, an extra 10% from China. And look at the reaction on the big board today, all right? So the Dow at the moment is down 1.4%. You add that to yesterday, and you're about 2.8% off in 2 days of trading. The NASDAQ is down even more. It's about 3.6% overall.
The markets dropped not just because of the U.S. tariffs. Soon after the Trump action took effect, China, Mexico, and Canada announced their own tariffs in response on a wide range of U.S. products. On CNBC, Jim Cramer blasted the Trump administration for starting this trade war and for creating vast confusion.
It isn't like they've said, okay, look, here's the schedule, here's the tariff. Like when you were in Europe and they did Brexit, you got the schedule, you got the tariff. You said, oh, okay, I owe this. They haven't given us anything. We don't know what we owe and what we don't owe. We don't know where it's paid. We don't know if it isn't paid. Do we owe them? Who owes it? Does the buyer owe it? I mean, the lack of any thought about this, David, is stunning.
It is.
This is a huge amount of money involved.
Potentially, yeah.
Economists point out that the United States and Canada typically trade over $2 billion worth of goods every day, or $750 billion every year. Now, countless goods and services crossing the border in both directions will be more expensive. The automotive industry will take one of the biggest hits, given that some vehicle components cross the U.S.-Canadian border 7 times before the factory production of a car or SUV is finished. As CBS News reports, the tariff impact on vehicle prices will be significant,
driving up the cost of a small car by an estimated $6,200 or an SUV by $9,000. So many car components are built across the border.
Because of the arbitrary nature of the emergency use of tariffs that are being done, we don't know how long they're going to be in effect. At the end of the day, there is little doubt that consumers will feel the pain of this, but it will also impact consumer demand as well.
Economic uncertainty already pushed consumer confidence down in February. And in a new CBS News poll, just 24% of Americans say the economy is getting better. 49% said it's getting worse.
And experts note that about 70% of all U.S. economic activity is driven by consumer confidence. When confidence rises, the economy improves. When confidence drops, the economy begins to stall. Making matters even more dicey, Canadian leaders are now threatening to choke off the supply of certain raw materials that the United States depends on.
I don't want to respond, but we will respond like they've never seen before. You need our uranium, you need our potash, you need our high-grade nickel. I will stockpile our high-grade nickel that 50% of your military and manufacturing needs, your aluminum, the steel, the lumber. It will be an absolute disaster. And this is all due to one person, that's President Trump.
In a news conference, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau addressed Donald Trump directly and referenced the critical assessment of the trade war by the conservative Wall Street Journal.
Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
In fact, the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by the conservative Murdoch family and usually supports Donald Trump, called Trump's actions the dumbest trade war in history. In his remarks, Prime Minister Trudeau also spoke about the retaliatory tariffs that Canada is now imposing on thousands of U.S. products, and Trudeau expressed his regrets to the American people.
We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk, at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada, or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes, and everything in between.
In Washington, Trump's Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick went on CNBC and argued the tariffs over the long term will increase manufacturing and industrial production in the United States.
Why do we produce cars in Canada? I know people worry about short term, but we are going to bring jobs. You are never going to see the amount of production come back to America that Donald Trump's going to bring back to America.
The argument from the Trump administration is that the short-term pain of the tariffs, higher prices, and the drag on the U.S. economy will be worth the long-term gain from increased U.S. manufacturing. Most economists are calling that Trump White House argument ridiculous. Here's Justin Wolfers from the University of Michigan on MSNBC.
I think what's coming out of the White House is, frankly, unmitigated nonsense, and there's not an economist alive who would defend what they're doing. But your viewers don't have to believe me. It turns out that there's a market where people bet on whether those sorts of effects are going to happen. I'm talking, of course, of the stock market. If Lutnick is right, and if Trump is right that these tariffs are going to lead to a boom in American business, then you should see the American stock market boom in response to a tariff announcement. What we saw was the stocks fell 2.5% yesterday, an additional 1.5% this morning. This is the stock market telling you, we think this is absolutely terrible for American business. And remember, it's businesses that are meant to benefit here. The stock market's not even taking account of the fact that high tariffs mean you and I are going to be paying a whole lot more at the grocery store as well. So there's a lot of losers all around.
And the biggest losers are people who still trust Donald Trump. Since he took office the second time in January 2025, the U.S. markets are in the red, as in they have lost ground. Markets in Europe have gained ground. Donald Trump has haphazardly tried to fire hundreds of thousands of U.S. government workers. Trump's migrant deportation efforts have harmed the agricultural and construction industries by intensifying the labor shortages and causing prices to skyrocket. And on foreign policy, Donald Trump has sided with Russia over Ukraine in that war and put Putin's dictatorship over European democracy and freedom. There is an argument out there that Donald Trump might as well be a Russian agent or asset given the destruction he has inflicted on the United States economically, politically, and in America's standing around the globe. But whatever is motivating Trump, one thing is now abundantly clear. U.S. market investors hate what Donald Trump is doing. And as the U.S. economy tanks because of the Trump trade war and so much else, all Americans are going to have to pay. By the way, Vice President J.D. Vance recently got taunted to his face at a Vermont ski resort.
New video now we have showing the vice president being greeted by protesters holding anti-Vance, pro-Ukraine signs as he makes his way there to Vermont for a ski resort vacation. More protesters met the Vance family outside of the resort, and the family ultimately had to move to an undisclosed location.
That's right. The Vance family fled the luxury Sugarbush ski resort. On the roads and outside the entrance, there were signs that read, "Go ski in Russia, traitor. Vance is the scum of the earth. Hate does not grow in the rocky soil of Vermont. And our cows shit better ideas than Vance." There were even demonstrators waiting at the main lift line. "Vance is a traitor. Go ski in Russia."
This is a group of people who has always been supportive of standing with Ukraine. However, I think yesterday's performance at the White House has probably galvanized even more people to come out today.
After what he did yesterday, he crossed the line.
I feel like all of America should be out here.
For much of the weekend, Vance and his family stayed hidden in their undisclosed location. But then, the Vances finally emerged to try and do some skiing on Sugarbush. A photographer with TMZ was waiting near the Heaven's Gate ski lift and captured Vance in the green and black jacket getting taunted.
JD, how does it feel being Putin's puppet?
At another point, TMZ recorded Vance and his family skiing down. A snowboarder nearly slammed into Vance. Another snowboarder caused two skiers near Vance to collide. Did Vance stop to try and help the down skiers or ask if they were okay? Of course not. J.D. Vance kept going because J.D. Vance is an asshole. Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from RB Husana, who wrote, "Trump is an idiot, reprehensible, America's Hitler." Quotes from J.D. Vance. Yes, and Vance said all of those quotes just a few years ago. Remarkable. Anyway, I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump crashing U.S. stocks with a trade war that even top Trump supporters call dumb. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.